coming up now? Oh, sorry, just one second. Please let me know that you can see a slideshow.
Yep.
Yes, we do. Yes.
Awesome, great. So yes, product owner versus product manager. Let's stop the confusion. I've had a lot of product managers come to meet me, aspiring product managers as well, and asking me questions like, "Oh, which one do you think I should do? Should I be a product manager? Should I be a product owner? Should I be a product marketing manager? Should I be a product specialist?" There have been so many things that I've heard when it comes to product management. But what I want to do specifically today is to just sort of like remove all the threads of confusion and let's get everything straight and know what we need to do at the end of the day. So before I continue, I'll just introduce myself. I am Fumnanya. For the past 3 years, I've been working in B2C and B2B SaaS. I have about 2 years of product management experience. I am the founder of my PM body. So my PM body is focused on getting product managers accountability partners. So that means that you as a product manager will find someone else who would be your buddy for about a month. And throughout that month, you have the opportunity to ask them questions, share knowledge. You have the opportunity to have weekly check-ins, weekly calls, if there are things that you can't really share. And this solution was brought about the problem of product managers trying to reach other product managers and they're not able to get across to them. So we want to give them the opportunity to meet like minds, which is why we created my PM body. I'm very big on product leadership, team ownership, and cohesion. I believe strongly that before the first line of code or before the first idea is thought about, the team has to be structured. The team has to be strong, has to be aligned on the goal, and the team has to be ready to execute. I currently lead a product team at Syndus HR where we are building the future of talent management in the HR space. So basically, we help companies, mostly large enterprises, to demystify their HR processes to make it much easier with the use of software. Now, I'm also interested in all things tech, most especially HR tech, health, and sports. I love to read, watch football, write, watch movies as well, mostly psychological thrillers and horrors. And I'm a very big Liverpool fan. So yeah, that's about me. So what are you going to see in this presentation? You'd see where I'll talk about the problem product management. I'll also differentiate or talk about who a product manager is and who a product owner is. I'll also talk about the key differences as well as the similarities. And the next part is the execution, meaning who you need and what it should be. And then finally, I'll end with key takeaways. So the problem with product management really is that product management is broad. It is large, it's extensive. I'm sure many years ago, most of us didn't really know what product management was about, but product management has been around since 1931, when HP was busy creating products back in the 1940s, so to say. And since then, it has been growing, but it's only recently became more of a larger thing here in Nigeria and Africa as well. But it's broad, it's extensive, it keeps changing every single day. And sometimes it's really hard to keep up. You just have to keep learning and keep improving. Now, some companies do not know what it is, what product management is, or they do know what management is, rather, but they just refuse to admit it. And at the end of the day, because of that, everybody wants a Superman. Everybody wants someone that can, shoot lasers out of their eyes, go through buildings and all that stuff. Everybody wants someone like that. And likewise, everyone wants a product manager that can literally do everything. But the thing is that nobody is a Superman. But at the end of the day, everybody always wants something. And because of that, we create a lot of problems. And because it is broad, we add more things into product management. So you see today, you need to be great at communication and stakeholder management. Then you need to be great at leadership. Then you have to be great at empathy, great at firefighting, road mapping, ideation, estimation, strategy. You have to be great at so many things. So it is multifaceted in that sense. It's cross-functional. There is no single day that's the same. Everything always remains different. And because it's broad, everything brought together is what encompasses product management in a sense. So who is a product manager? I love this definition by Marty Cargan, who is the author of Inspired: How to Create Products Customers Love. If you have not read the book, I think you should read it. Such a really good book on product management. Now, the role of a product manager is to discover a product that is valuable, usable, and feasible, right? The product manager basically discovers what the users need, and they're able to prioritize what we can build next, rally the team around the roadmap. I mean, this is just a really short definition. It's much more broader than that. Product managers, as you would admit, on a day-to-day basis, you do a lot more than what has been defined here. Now, the product manager rather is a holistic high-level role with a lot of responsibilities that encompass the entire product lifecycle. So ranges from product discovery or customer discovery down to product delivery, down to product growth, and so many things that encompass the product life cycle in itself. Just a quick one. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Fantastic. All right. So I would just be periodically saying that just to be sure, because Nigerian network. I know, but yeah. So the product manager's role is basically high level. It is top. You sit at the center and you sort of coordinate all these things, working with various teams, just to make sure that you're bringing value to the product, right? And that is why it's such a very high level role. And that's why you cannot rest your laurels, and you have to constantly keep learning every single day. So you're building a product that is valuable. I mean, what does it mean for a product to have value? What does it mean for a product to be usable? Is it bringing value to your customer? Is it bringing value to the business in itself? Most of you will agree that most of the products that you interact on a day-to-day basis are valuable, usable, and of course, because they've been built, it means that it was feasible at that particular time. So what's usually like the main focus for product managers really? You most likely focus on like user research, the long-term vision and strategy. So user research in terms of you want to know who your customers are. You want to know what your customers are saying, how they are even saying it. You want to know the why behind the things that they are asking for, behind every feedback that is being given to you. And the reason is because it is through users that we're able to know if we're actually really creating value, if our users are able to use the product, and if they are enjoying what they are using, if it's making a change in their lives. And because of that, you'll be required to think about long-term vision and strategy. You're always strategizing. I think I've done like 2 strategy meetings this year, one in the first quarter and one like in Q3. So there's always strategy. There's always something that has to come up. There's always something that has to be tinkered with. And because of that, because you need, you need to have a vision and a strategy, it means that you need a team. And because you need a team, you need that team to be aligned. And what I mean by alignment is that the team rallies behind you and believes in the long-term vision and strategy that you're setting, of course. That is where the place of product leadership now really comes in. That you're making sure that the team is reaching their full potential in ensuring that they're bringing value to your customers. You always ask this question: what next are we building? What are we doing? Where are we going to next? How will we be in 5 years? And all that stuff. So all these things rest on the product manager. You're also in charge of like making sure that the product is delivered well. Make sure that the customers get product. Make sure that bugs, defects, and whatnot are properly managed and handled. And you're the product champion. When everyone else is not in the room, you're expected to stand up and speak for the product. You're expected to know your product like you would probably read a book from the very beginning to the end, like more than once. So if anyone should stop you by the roadside and say, "Oh, hey, I heard about this. What is it about?" You should confidently speak about it in the manner that no one else would. And because you're the product champion, that is able to resonate with your team members as well. So who is a product owner? So really, a product owner was born out of the Scrum. So sorry if you're hearing a dog barking. So a product owner was born out of the Scrum methodology. Scrum literally came to the scene before the Agile Manifesto was written in 2001. So basically, it was Scrum that defined who the product owner should be. So a product owner basically is responsible for maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of the development team. So what you would necessarily see people say is that the product owner serves as the customer's voice or the customer's representative, right? So typically, the product owner is supposed to be the internal person in the business that would sit with the team and prioritize the backlog of work. So what's the product owner's focus? Product owner would mainly focus on turning customer pain points and problems into actionable user stories. They would construct and prioritize production processes. So production processes in the sense that you need to put processes in place to make sure that your team is working efficiently. So maybe in sprints, you see that there's a particular way that your team gets feedback, but it's pretty slow. Then you need to make sure that that process is improved so that your team are maximizing their potential, right? And when you're not able to construct and prioritize production processes, it becomes really difficult for you as a product owner within a Scrum team. You're supposed to attend all agile meetings, scrum meetings, and whatnot, and communicate the voice of the customer to the development team. So the development team look up to you to speak like a customer is speaking. You're supposed to communicate what the customer is feeling, how the customer is feeling, and really important for them to understand it so that they'll be able to put in the effort that is required to bring in value to the customer, and you provide feedback on the validated roadmap to the product manager. So this, in essence, happens in a team where there is a product manager and there are product owners, basically. So product manager, product owner, and then the product owner works hand in hand with the development team to bring value to the product. So remember what I said about the product owners. Now, if this is too much information, I just made it simpler. So the product manager decides what products to build next, and the product owner helps the development team to build products. Again, this is in a role where there is a product manager and then there is a product owner within the business. But does that mean that they don't have a common goal? No, they do have a common goal. They have a common goal, and they have to build and improve products that create meaningful value for customers and all stakeholders within the company. That's essentially the holy grail of being a product manager, that you're creating meaningful value for your customers, that your business is basically enjoying the value that you're creating with the products. And, it's really important that everyone knows that regardless of if you come into an organization and they say, okay, you're a product manager, or they say that you're a product owner, it's really important that you remember that at the end of the day, what you're supposed to do is to create meaningful value for customers and all stakeholders within the company. So I'll just speak about the key differences. Typically, I sort of like group them into three terms, or yeah, three sections: the overall focus, the responsibility, and ownership. So for overall focus, typically you see a product manager being highly strategic, having this grand vision of the product, and always having like the long-term focus. In the next 3 years we're supposed to get here, next 5 years supposed to get here, the next 1 year we're supposed to get here. Well, the product owner, because there's a grand vision, the product owner now has to be more detail oriented. Basically, we have a grand vision of, yes, we want to build like the next, or we want to build like the future automobile that'll probably fly in the sky. So the product owner is like, okay, this is great, it's a fantastic vision, but how can we like break it down? And product owner now goes back to see, okay, if this is the grand vision, then these are the steps that we need to take to ensure that we're able to meet that grand vision. And most times you see that the product owner is usually focused on the short to mid-term focus. That is literally what their focus is. They are focusing on bringing value short to mid-term. Yes, we're about to have this grand vision, but in short to mid-term, these are the things that we can do to be able to bring value to our customers. Now, responsibility. Responsibility lies for the product manager. Responsibility lies They have things, they are responsible for the product vision, responsible for customer discovery, cross-team alignment, and feature prioritization, which is what I said before about product manager being asked about what can we build next, what should we do next. While the product owner typically will be focused on optimizing development process and making sure that they're turning the product vision into an actionable backlog. So yes, like I said, we have a product vision, but what are the things that we need to do to achieve? Hello, can anyone hear me?
Sure, sure.
I
Okay,
hear you.
great. So what do we need to do? What are those actionable items or those steps that we need to take to achieve the product vision? And typically you see the product owner really focusing on that. And then the product owner advocates for the customer needs in front of the development team. So who owns what? The product manager usually use typically be in charge of the product roadmap, and the MVPs, while the product owner will typically be in charge of backlogs, epics, and user stories. And if you look at it from the very bottom, from ownership down to overall focus, you would see how everything sort of connects. Because you have backlog, epics, and user stories, it means that the product owner would be able to optimize the development process. The product owner would be able to turn the product vision into an actionable backlog. And the product owner can advocate for the customer's needs in front of the development team because all these things are in place. And because of that, they become more detail oriented and the focus for short to mid term is met. Typically for the product manager, because there's a product roadmap and because there's an MVP that needs to be built, you typically see them having or doing more product customer discovery, more cross team alignment, just to make sure that the things on the product roadmap are achieved. You see them doing more feature prioritization. Okay, yes, we have this grand idea, but what do we need to prioritize now so that we'll be able to meet our focus? And because it's a product roadmap, then obviously there will be a product vision. And all that translates to being highly strategic and also having a long-term focus. So I just did this little demonstration, pardon my presentation skills, but I wanted to show you that because this is me right here in this small corner, and this is, I mean, everyone, product managers and whatnot. But what I tried to do here was that I wanted to show you how the two sort of meet. So you can see on the right hand side for the product owner, you can see what they clearly own, and you can see on the left hand side or for the product manager what they clearly own. And then you can see at the top here the things that they both own together. And they are irrespective of whether you're a product owner or whether you're a product owner in a business or a product manager in a business, you collectively own these things. So, like for the product manager, typically you see them, writing business cases, doing product forecasting, thinking about pricing, the whole product in itself, segmentation, and end of life. But for the product owner, because of the way it's structured, because of their overall focus, because of their responsibility and the things that they own, you will see them typically handling daily stand-ups, typically making sure that the scrum processes are being done. You see them handling the backlog rooms 24/7 for the sprint team. They are always there for the sprint team. I've had my developers send me a message, even when it wasn't convenient, right? But I still had to make myself available because they needed to remove a certain blocker, which is okay. Um, you also see the product owner accepting or rejecting the work that has been done by the development team. If it's not good enough, then we have to think about it in a different way. But at the very top, the product owner and product manager still intersect because you still have a vision. You still have to manage bugs. You still have to become a customer advocate. You have to advocate for your customer every single time. You have to keep talking to your users, whether they are internal or whether they are external. You have to think about the product positioning. How do you want to sell this particular product, or how do you hope that this particular product will position itself? If you have like multiple products in a particular product suite, do you want to bring all of them together, or do you want to present each of them separately or differently? You also be in charge of user personas, and competitive analysis still rests on the laurels of your shoulders. You're definitely in charge of that. So typically, what happens in my day to day is that I have one and two, and sometimes I also intersect to this place. Why? Because in my organization, we function as product owners, yes, but at the same time, we are product managers. So it really does not matter if you're a product manager. The most important thing that you need to know is that the product owner role is within the scrum team, but at the end of the day, whether you're a product owner within a scrum team, a product marketing manager, you're still all under the umbrella of a product manager. So it's all in the mind. Like I said, we focus a lot on, oh, what am I, what should I be, how should I go about this, or who am I, so to say. And with product managers, literally, we are giving money so that we'll be able to deliver business results. So product and business intersect together. But with the product owner, which, like I said, is within the Scrum team, you are giving money so that you ensure that the most value from the development team, like the most value can be gotten from the development team. So basically, a product owner is a role that you play on a Scrum team, why being a product manager is the job. So who do you need? I like this meme so much because I've had questions when I go for meetups, and product managers will come and meet me and they will tell me that they are a product this, that. And I'm okay, that's great. But at the end of the day, you're still a product manager. And then they argue with me that no, I'm not a product manager. I am a product this and that. And I'm like, essentially, okay, what do? They list out every single thing that they do. And I'm like, well, but this is what the product manager also does. They're like, no, I'm a product this, and I'm like, okay. And the thing is that they are not focusing on the outcomes. They are focusing on the titles. You cannot focus on the titles. You need to focus on the outcomes, right? What does success look like for your company, right? What has your company defined as success? If your company has defined a certain way as success, it means that your company um, now has to define the product management processes. The company has to say that this is how we want product management to go. So for my company, we started out as product managers, but we needed to establish a structure. So we decided to go with the Scrum methodology. Of course, we took some parts of the Scrum methodology. We sort of tweaked a couple of things and we came out with a framework for ourselves that we call the software development lifecycle framework, right? And we said this is how we want our process to go. And it works for us, right? We know the things that we need to do. Does that mean that because I'm a product owner, I would stop being a product manager? No, I still have to talk to users. I still do user interviews. I still analyze the product in itself, both from an analytical perspective and from a user perspective, so to say. Basically, using tools to see how the product is doing and how the customers are faring when they use a particular feature or when they get stuck somewhere. Look at their behavioral pattern in that sense. So it's important that the company defines what the product management process is like. And I think that will really help a lot of product managers. And with that, you need to also structure the team properly. So there's a process, yes, but also you need to structure your team properly and eliminate anything that will become a bottleneck for the success of that team. Now, can one person do everything? Yes, one person can, but it's a lot to ask. Um, I've seen a statistic somewhere where it was written that product owners spend about 40 hours in a week just writing product specifications, or what you term as PRDs, product requirement documentation. And at this point, you will need to ask yourself if those user stories are even valuable. Yes, you're writing a lot of product specifications, but is this the right thing that you should be doing? This is where the mindset comes in, right? Because if you're just focusing on, yes, I'm just doing what is supposed to be done, and you're just saying, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do with the development team, and nothing else can disrupt our plan, then you run the risk of finding yourself falling in the build trap where you are concentrating on the quantity of the items that you release, but you're not focusing on the quantity. So for you to do both, you need strong support from your executives and direct reports. You need to have a great team, and the cross-functional teams like sales, marketing, and customer service they need to help you as well, right? Like I said, it's when the company process has been established, when the company's product management process has been established, it becomes much easier for you to do your job, and it becomes much easier for you to achieve value for your product. So a couple of takeaways. Outcomes are way more important than titles. Like I always say, focus on the outcomes, focus on how are we going to get there and what will be the end result. Do not focus on the titles, whether you are a product marketing manager, whether you are a product specialist. If you're working in capacity as a product manager, then you are a product manager. So product manager and product owner is the way to go. So that's basically you having the flexibility to be a product manager, but also act in the role or in the capacity of a product owner with your team. That's the best way to go. I know some organizations that have the structure of a product manager and then they have another product owner. And I know some organizations like mine, where we act as product owners within the Scrum team, but our role as a product manager never changes. It still remains the same. We're still expected to do things that a product manager is expected to do. Typically, product managers are mostly business focused, and while product owners are mostly development focused. So, if you are acting in the capacity of a product manager and acting in the capacity of a product owner all at the same time, it means that you have to be business focused and development focused as well. The two have to meet together. And of course, if you're being development focused, you're not going to be development focused throughout the week, though, because there's still the business aspect of being a product manager that you need to look at as well. So it's important that you're not turning away and you keep the work flowing. And it's important that you also validate the direction that your team is taking at each step, and also making sure that developers are able to get what they need whenever they need you as well. So you can be both, but make sure that you set clear expectations, which is why I always advise product managers to speak to their line managers and define what the expectations are. It's only with good expectations that you're able to derive great results. So if you're expected to do a certain thing in a certain way, now you know what your focus should be and the initiatives that you should take just to make sure that you get that goal. So if you're expected to act in the capacity of a product owner, that's great. But at the same time, do not neglect the fact that you are also a product manager in a sense, right? So if your organization has a structure of a product manager and then they have another product owner, that's like the structure: a product manager, a product owner, and then a development team. And you're expected to act in the capacity of a product owner. Yes, it's great, act in the capacity of a product owner. But if you're in an organization where the expectation is for you to act in the capacity of a product manager, but as well work with the Scrum team, then you know that that expectation for you is to do both, is to become a product manager and a product owner. You can do both, like I said, but it is a big ask. I am currently doing both. Is it a lot for me? Yes, it is, but is it something I do enjoy? It is. But at the end of the day, you need to remember one thing, that both are born to deliver value. And if you are working in the capacity of a product owner or a product manager, you are supposed to deliver value. And one final thing before I end, for everyone to remember, is a product owner is a role that you play within a Scrum team, while the product manager is the job. Thank you very much. I will now take questions if there are any.
All right. Thank you very, very much, Fumnanya. I hope everyone can hear me. Can Fumnanya hear me? Okay. All right.
Yes, I
So
can
thank
hear
you
you.
very
Sorry.
much. Thank you so much for really doing justice to the topic. And we have few hands up. Let's have Chukudi. I hope I'm getting your name right, but I'm so sorry. I just, just ask your question, Chukudi.
Okay. Thank you very much, Blessing. And I also want to thank you, Fumnanya, for doing justice to the discourse. You made mention about product owners optimizing development. So Can you shed more light on what you mean by optimizing development? That is one. Two, I also want to find out at what stage or at what point will an organization bring in a product owner to probably work with probably work with the product manager. That is two. Then three, product data. Can you shed more light on the job role of a product coordinator? Because there is product manager, there is product owner, and then recently there was a job vacancy that I saw, and it is a product coordinator role where the product coordinator would have to assist the product owner in terms of yes, as in everything that you have said that a PO does. The product coordinator assists the product owner when looking at the MJD. Yes, so these are my questions.
Okay, great. So I will do my very best to answer all your questions. So the first one, I spoke about optimizing development processes. Now, like I said, you can't do anything unless you're not able to achieve value unless your team is set. And what I mean by your team is set, your team is aligned with the vision and the goal of the product. And at the end of the day, if alignment does not happen, then it is impossible for you to achieve value. It is difficult, rather. Let me not say it's impossible. It's difficult for you to achieve value. You have a lot of bottlenecks. So as the product owner, it's important that the development processes, that is the things that would help you guys to achieve that value, are put in place. So I spoke about feedback, for instance, like an example. So currently in my team, let me use in my team, what we do is that we have different types of feedback, for instance. So the problem that we had was that we had a feedback channel which was working well for us up until like last month. And then what we're seeing was that the QA analysts were always doing like exploratory tests. That's just using the products, just improving their knowledge and, sending things that they probably saw as a bug, or they probably saw as a problem, right? So a lot of that feedback was coming. QA was sending feedback, product designers were sending their feedback as well in things that they saw. I was also sending feedback, and it was quite a lot for the developers. So they came to me and they were like, oh, hey, we appreciate all the feedback that has been coming in, but we need structure. We need a process. And so I spoke with my technical lead, and we had the conversation of creating that process where we're able to differentiate the feedback and say, okay, this is the product feedback, this is a QA feedback, this is a UX or a design feedback. And the developers are able to see the differentiation on Jira, for instance, and they're able to know, okay, this is really important, I need to work on this. Okay, this will require the design, this has a design implication, for instance. So the designer has to work on this before I touch on it. So in that sense, we've done that experiment for the last 1 month, and they love it, right? It has helped them to even maximize their potential, to maximize the effort that they put in the development in itself. So you have to periodically check to make sure that the processes that you put in, to make sure that your development team are getting the very best out of the work that they're doing. The processes have to keep getting better. You have to keep making sure that they keep improving as well. Because if the processes are not good enough, or you probably have, like, for instance, you probably will say that a sprint should probably run like for 4 weeks, and you see that it's not helpful, maybe you should stop. Maybe you should consider having a 2 week sprint in that sense to say, okay, yes, this is the way that we should go. It will be faster for us to deliver value to our customers. So that's what I mean by optimizing the product development processes. And it centers around making sure that the team are enjoying what they do. The other question that you spoke, that you asked about, like product coordinator. So basically, product coordinator as well. Let me not like how will I describe this? Let me not sort of like confuse you. A product coordinator still acts as the capacity of a product manager. So basically, product coordinator is ensuring that product development goals are met, ensuring that timelines are met, making sure that everything is being executed according to the product manager's plans, right? Now, in that sense, you'll be wondering, okay, does that mean that the product coordinator is not a product owner? No, the product coordinator is, in a sense, still a product owner. Like I said, it's what the company wants, which is the thing that you need to really focus on. What does the company need? What does the organization need? Is the organization asking for a product owner, and you're able to see what they're asking for? What you would see is 9 times out of 10, if out of those 7 descriptions that they have for that role, I can guarantee you that 5 are being done. In fact, let me not say 5. I can guarantee that 6 over 7 are being done by a product manager in another organization. So different types of roles come up every single day, but it's now up to you to go into and understand what the company wants to achieve. And if you understand what the company wants to achieve, it now becomes easier for you to either say you want to apply for this job, or when you apply for it, you're able to get into that role as well. But a product coordinator, in every sense, still sort of operates as a product manager. They are under the umbrella of being a product manager. You asked a third question. I'm not sure I remember, but could you repeat that?
Okay, okay. The third question is at what point, or maybe at what stage, take for instance, you do both. You are both
Yeah.
a product manager and a product owner. So at what stage of the business or of the project do you think that, okay, there is a need to get someone who would work in the capacity of a product owner, just to
Yeah, I'm listening.
okay, yes. So just to help in reducing reducing the workload, maybe if you feel you are overwhelmed with work at some point. Yes, so
Great. That's a very good question. So, a fintech company that I know of operates in a kind of structure where there is a product manager and there's a product owner within the development team. Now, it all depends on the organization at the end of the day. So, if a process like you being the product manager, acting in the capacity of product manager and the product owner, gets too much for you, where you have to focus on the business and then you still have to focus on development and you have to focus on other things that encompass you being a product manager, then it's good to have that conversation with your line manager and to say, okay, it seems like our process is not really working in that sense. And then that's when this conversation can be had, like, okay, what do we need to do to improve it? Now, remember maybe I should go to the previous slide. Yes, where I said you need to define the company's product management processes. So for early stage startups, you literally see that most of the product managers are working in the capacity of most of the product managers are acting as are working as product managers, and they are also performing the role of a product owner, right? Because maybe the early stage startup does not have enough funds to hire more people, so they need to keep it lean, they need to keep it really, really structured and really tight. So you see the product manager doing quite a lot of things, right? But as they continue to grow, as they continue to become bigger, processes will change. Product management processes will become different. And because of that, it will mean that they need to change how they approach product management. Now, do they need to have a senior product manager and a junior product manager in the team? Do they need to have a product manager and have someone act in the capacity of a product owner in the team? Do they need to have, like you said, a product coordinator, a product manager, and a product owner? So everything depends on at what stage the organization is at. So if the organization, for instance, is at a growth stage, it means that they'll probably need more hands. They'll need more people that would help them. And so they need to define what the product management process is like. Now, if the process is not properly defined, you run the risk of not um, you run the risk of not getting value for your product. You run the risk of failing with your team. And of course, nobody wants to fail at the end of the day, but it's really important that the right structures are in place to help you guys perform. So I hope I've been able to answer that question.
Yes, spot
Right.
on.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for that one. From Naya, we have Juliet's hand up. So Juliet, can we have you? Hi, Juliet.
Hi, Blessing. Good evening.
Hi.
Good evening, everyone.
All right.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I have been listening, but then I came across something this morning. I was checking up on user stories, and it got to a point where an explanation was made, saying that the person that writes the user story is the product owner. Okay, so now I'm now confused. I already knew, like all along, that a product manager writes user stories, and from the explanation that Fumnanya has been giving, I don't know. I'm just thinking a product manager is supposed to be the one to write it, but I just want to confirm: is it that product owners? Maybe I'm talking about when there's a description, when we have both product managers and product owners in a company, who exactly is the right user story?
Good question. When we have an instance of a product manager and a product owner in the team, um, the product manager, of course, has the vision at the end of the day, like I said, but it has to be broken down, and because it has to be broken down into user stories, it will be the product owner who will be working hand in hand with the product manager to make sure that the user stories that have been written are properly defined and the development team understands. So it's not a thing of, oh, I'm just going to work in silos and it's your responsibility. It's a collective responsibility at the end of the day. The product owner understands what the product manager is trying to achieve. And because he understands what the product manager is trying to achieve, the product owner is able to write those user stories in detail. And of course, share with the product manager and say, okay, does this actually meet what you're trying to say? Does this really define what you're trying to do, so to say? And product manager can say, okay, no, this is missing there, that is missing there, and whatnot. Typically, it can be both ways in terms of the product manager can handle the user stories part, can handle writing it all down. But at the end of the day, where do the user stories emanate from? User stories emanate from the fact that you have an epic, and because you have an epic, it means that you have a backlog. And in a situation or in an instance, especially in a company where you have a product manager and a product owner, the people who are closest to the backlog, the epics and the user stories are the product owners. So typically you expect the product owner to handle that side of things. But I will leave this answer as this in terms of that it's a collective responsibility. There is no one that truly owns it. But at the end of the day, when it is written by that manager or product owner, both of them have to come together to make sure that what is written meets the specifications so that the development team thoroughly understand what's expected to be achieved and they can go to work. I hope that answers your question, Juliet.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. All right. Thank you very much, Naya. I don't know if there are other questions, right? So I think Banji is on the call too. I don't know if Banji is willing to say hi to us today. But thank you so much, Naya. It was an insightful section. You really broke it down, and you know, yeah, it was just amazing. It was just very simple. The simple terms you just broke it down. It's just very, very understandable. So yes, thank you so much once again. And from the team, I bring greetings. Um, everybody's saying
Great. Thank you.
Naya is just breaking things down in simple terms. So yes, I bring greetings from everyone, and yeah. So I don't know. There are no other questions. No hands are up. Hi,
Sorry.
Banji. Okay.
Yes. So as in, so sorry. So, if the product owner is focused on development, where does the project manager role now come into play? Project manager role, CTO, now come into play. Yes, that's my question.
So the project manager is, of course, we always have to be really careful with terms. Like I said, terms are one of the major problems why we have this so much confusion, so to say. Generally, a project manager rather, is responsible for the completion of like projects. So because it's a project, it is structured, and there are specifications, there's budget, there's time, there are timelines. Everything has to be within a scope. Typically, in most organizations, you would hardly see a project manager and a product manager in the same capacity. So um, either you see a product manager in that capacity, or you see the company going the way of a project manager. And nothing is wrong with that at the end of the day. Like I said, it's all about what the company wants to achieve. But hardly will you see a project manager, a product manager, and then a product owner within a specific team. That just seems like a lot of confusion at the end of the day. But with project managers, like I said, because it's already structured, because it's already, oh, this is the way to go, and this is how we are going to do it. There's no room for you to sort of like change and say, okay, maybe we need to change this, maybe we need to change that. Basically, you cannot keep creating value in that sense, right? So it's really difficult to handle that particular position. But if you have a position where you are the project manager, then of course you need to act in the capacity as a project manager, because that's what the organization wants you to do. If the organization comes tomorrow and says, oh, hey, so we're changing every single person, every single one who are project managers in the organization, and we are making them product managers. That's what the organization wants. This is now the new process that they need to follow. And everyone in the organization now has to work towards that process to make sure that it is achieved, or to make sure that it is completed at the end of the day. So yeah, that's what I would say to that.
All right. Thank you very much, Munaya. There's one question on the chat box, but before we attend to that question on the chat box, please, guys, I would like us to go to our Twitter, our Instagram, and our LinkedIn. Let's just share what we have learned in this session: products owner versus product manager, confusion, and all of that. Let's just share what we've learned. Let's share the key things that we've taken from it, and let's tag InnovaLab on Twitter at InnovaLab, just the way it's spelled, ENOVRLAB. On Instagram at InnovaLabNG, ENOVRLABNG. No underscores, no dots, nothing. Then on LinkedIn at InnovaLab, just the same way I spelled it for Twitter. Then we can also tag Fumnanya, most importantly as well. Let's tag Fumnanya. His full name is Fumnanya Okeleke Cooper. So yes, let's share things that we have learned, so that, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, Fumnanya, you can just share your handle. I was going to share it, but you can just share your handles: Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I mean, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, so that we can tag you as well. All right. So here it is on the screen. We can tag Fumnanya. Okay, it's not on Twitter. Right.
I am on Twitter, actually. Olabanji has already dropped it.
Yeah. Okay, this email spelling is the Twitter
Yeah,
and
the Twitter handle. But
yes.
yeah, but I wanted to say, like, anyone can connect with me on LinkedIn, If you also have like product questions, you can send me an email. I try to reply as quickly
Yeah.
as I can. And I
Okay.
also write a newsletter that just shares basic nuggets on product management and nuggets on my product
So,
journey as well. So you can subscribe if you want to do that. Yeah.
right. Thank you very much for that one, Funaya. So yes, guys, let's just go do that. And I think there are no questions. I'm not seeing any hand up. Thank you very much once again, Funaya. I think Banji may want to say one or two things before we go, but I just want to chip in something. Yes, just before Banji takes the mic once again. Thank you everyone for joining. Alfie, or Ayomide, Aziz, B, Chibuzo, Chukudi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. Um, yeah, we are still going to take Kelvin's question. Okay, let's take Kelvin's question. Then we can come back to the last thing I was going to say. Then um, before Banji would, okay, before Banji is going to say what he has to say, right? Kelvin was saying something like, can't see it. Kelvin, can you unmute yourself and ask the question again? I cannot see the message anymore. Is Kelvin there?
I think I can see the question.
Okay, okay,
I
okay.
think, yeah, Kelvin is asking if a product manager can play a product owner
The
role.
product owner role, yes.
Yeah. So a project manager cannot play a product owner role. And the reason is simple. The product owner role was born out of the Scrum methodology. The project manager role essentially doesn't have a methodology. The only methodology is that we need to handle projects. Okay, we need a manager. Right. Let us get a project manager, or let us create a role for a project manager. But the product owner, I mean, cannot handle that. So with project managers, you typically see them planning resources, handling finances, organizing documents, a lot of documents, and saying, okay, for this particular project, we're going to spend XYZ amount. For that particular project, we're going to spend this particular amount. And because, like I said, it's already structured. It's like a waterfall sort of way of working. So typically, you would see most project managers working in the capacity of like, okay, my company has given me this directive, and this is how it's going to go, and this is the way we're going to maximize. We're going to get the best out of the money that we've been given. While in product owner role, it's born within the Scrum team, right? You are an advocate for the customer himself, and that also differentiates. That's like a major difference, really. A product owner role is born within the Scrum team, while a project manager, so to say, is acting in the capacity of organizing projects, making sure that they're able to meet timelines, budget specifications, and whatnot. So yeah, that was my answer.